Coming up, what will it take to prevent cyber crimes from wreaking havoc on corporate America and the U.S. economy? We'll look at some tactics when we sit down with a 26-year U.S. intelligence veteran who helped take down an infamous drug kingpin. Bottom Line continues in just a moment. Welcome back. America's leading authorities on cybersecurity are here in New York attending the Bloomberg Cybersecurity Conference. The meetings and forums are being held as the cybersecurity industry remains on high alert following a recent spike in attacks on hundreds of websites. A recent cybercrime report says those attacks cost the global economy nearly $400 billion annually. In the U.S., that figure is estimated to be $32 billion a year, claiming 74 million victims of cyber crimes in the form of identity theft. The White House and the Department of Homeland Security have been sounding the alarm. President Obama calling cybercrime, quote, one of the most serious economic and national security threats our nation faces. Colonel Cedric Leighton has nearly 30 years experience as an intelligence officer in the U.S. Air Force. In the 1990s, he was involved in the hunt for Colombian drug kingpin Pablo Escobar, and he is president and founder of Cedric Leighton Associates, and he joins me here in studio. Colonel, welcome to Bottom Line. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure, Mark. Thank you for having me.
Is there any place in the U.S. that's adequately protected from cybercrime?
No. The short answer is no. And the reason is that the cyber threat has really evolved in so many different ways. And it takes us in the cybersecurity industry many, many different iterations to really find the kinds of things that we need to do in order to protect industries, governments, and all the people that use the internet from these threats.
Do you think you have the tools that you need to do this?
Not really. And it's partly a technical issue, but it's also a policy issue. Technically, I think we're getting there, and we're working with a lot of the different issues that come up from an engineering standpoint and from a software standpoint. But on a policy side, we really have to work the bridge between government and private industry. And that's one of the big things that we really have to focus on, because the legislation that is pending before Congress becomes a very important ingredient in solving cybercrime and hacking issues in general.
I want to get to that legislation in just a minute, but it dawns on me, some people who are skilled at this, but obviously use that for illegal purposes. Do federal agencies try to contact these people and say, look, we might be a little bit more lenient with you, but you have to work with us because unfortunately you're one of the best and the brightest, but for some reason you just got turned and you decided to do this for your own personal illegal gain as opposed to worrying about the national security interest of the United States?
Well, yes. In fact, there is a recent case. The person that was involved as a mastermind in the hacking of the Stratfor strategic intelligence site, he was basically working as an agent for the FBI. He was the leader of a group known as LulzSec.
Yes.
And LulzSec was a group of hackers that related to the anonymous group of hackers. And they are basically in there for the thrill of hacking and also for a political agenda. The political agenda can be, on one side of an issue one day and on the other side another day. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to disrupt traffic in a way that that makes sense to them and also wreaks havoc for companies, for governments, and for anybody that they don't agree with.
Colonel, you talked about the politics of this earlier this year. The Maine Republican Senator Susan Collins, she's the senior Republican on Homeland Security. She said cyber attacks threaten U.S. economic stability, and she did cite that study that we mentioned, that it costs about $400 billion annually or thereabouts. Should Congress be given the authority at this time to force critical industries to make their computer networks more secure?
I think the answer is yes, because I know
the business community doesn't agree with that.
That's true. I do know that, and being a member of a chamber of commerce, it's one of those things where you have to look at what really works best for the country. And what we're looking at here is everybody being on the front line of the cyber war. It's not just a matter of people in uniform being responsible for it or law enforcement officials being responsible for it. Everybody is responsible for the security and safety of the internet. And because of that, it becomes very important to have a set of standards that we all can agree on. Obviously, we should protect privacy rights. We should protect the businesses in their ability to conduct business and have a profit. But it becomes very, very important to have a set of standards that allow us to protect the internet so that we can use it for the types of things we use today and future uses as well.
In this fight against cyber terrorism, America is one link in the chain. It may be the strongest link, but it is a link. And some of our allies, when it comes to sharing intelligence, some of their computer networks and systems are not as sophisticated as ours. How much of a challenge does that pose? And if their computer networks are the weak link in the chain, isn't that just one of those areas where enemies of the state can exploit?
Absolutely. You're only as strong as your weakest link, as the saying
very
goes.
much so.
And the issue here is, if your allies have a weak link, that then can be exploited because they can use their systems to get into our systems. And the same with businesses that have overseas affiliates. The same exact principle applies. And businesses and government need to be very, very careful from this standpoint because they need to protect all of the links in their chain.
Colonel, I have to ask you quickly in about 10 seconds, the next war, is it going to be a war of keystrokes as opposed to weapons?
It'll be probably a war of both, but the keystrokes will play a major role in any war that we have.
Colonel Cedric Leighton, 30 years experience, intelligence officer in the Air Force. He's president and founder of Cedric Leighton Associates, talking cybercrime and security. Colonel, pleasure to meet you. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you.